Hey y'all, it's currently 5 in the morning right now, and if that doesn't attest to how much hard work I put into this channel, I don't know what does. And now you have to stay. Now you have to watch the full video because now you know how much effort I put into it. Yeah, you can't go anywhere now. Yeah, you're stuck. You're stuck. What are you gonna do about it? Yeah, that's what I thought. Imagine someone just closing out my video right now. Anyways. Hi, if you don't know me, I'm Jade. This is my YouTube channel Jaded, where I talk about underrepresented stories or major stories from an underrepresented lens. And today we're talking about Black women and queer folk in civil rights history. You cannot talk about the history without us, and I will prove why. Let's start with an exercise with your eyes closed. You don't have to keep them closed, but trust me, there is a method to this madness. We need to travel back to 50s America. I know, me too, I wouldn't want to be there as well. But we must think you are no longer yourself. You are a Black woman with a family trying to make an honest living in Mississippi. You hear through the grapevine that Black people can register to vote now. And given the circumstances you witness every day, it's about time for the government to consider Black folk in politics. So you travel with a small group of activists down a long stretch of Mississippi Highway towards the courthouse. It sits heavy and square against the sky, its white columns bright in the sun, imposing, unwelcoming. Inside, a clerk barely looks at you before telling you that you must pass a literacy test before you can register to vote. Ugh, your friend warned you about this. It doesn't matter if you can read a newspaper front to back or recite the Constitution by heart. They can still deny you. The test isn't about literacy. It's a polished new tool to keep Black citizens from voting. Thankfully, as you were going through the registration process, nothing crazy really happened. So you hopped on the bus with the others and began the ride home. Exhausted, but hopeful. Halfway home, however, flashing lights appear behind the bus. Police officers step out slowly, hands resting on their belts. The driver is fined for operating a bus that is supposedly too yellow. The excuse hangs in the air, absurd and insulting. You know what this really is. A reminder, a warning that someone is always watching. That night, when you return to the small house where you and your husband live, the white landowner is already waiting. His voice is low but sharp. If you don't go back and withdraw your registration, he says, you could pack your things and leave. The land, the house, your livelihood, all of it can vanish with his word. You stand there, the weight of the choice pressing into your chest. Your home or your right to vote. Safety or dignity. Days later, long after the sun has set and the house has gone quiet, the night explodes. Gunshots rip through the darkness. Wood splinters, glass shatters, 16 bullets tear through the walls, punching holes through the thin boards that barely protect you. You drop to the floor, heart racing, pulling your family down with you. The smell of gunpowder lingers even after the shooting stops. Miraculously, no one is killed. The walls are scarred. So is the silence. The message is clear. Be afraid, be silent, back down. But do you? Fannie Lou Hamer didn't. This is her story, and it doesn't end here. She continues to fight for political justice. A year later, she was even arrested. Those officers beat her, damaged her kidney, and left a blood clot behind her eye. But that didn't stop her either. In fact, she later co-founds the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party and attends the Democratic National Convention to challenge unfair voting practices. That is to say, Black people who are not men, such as Fannie Lou Hamer, had to make those tough decisions all the time during the civil rights movement. Mind you, during the 50s, the ideology of separate spheres was very dominant still, where the women were told to stay at home to bear the children and to take care of household duties, whereas the man goes to work, participates in politics, and deals with commerce. So the women who were also trying to advocate for rights had to do so while tending the responsibilities that were placed before them. And this was very confining, and still Black women and Black queer folk found a way to push against these hindrances and to still be central to the fight. W.E.B. Du Bois brings this idea of double consciousness, where Black people internally navigate their own self-perception of their identity while having to deal with the way they are perceived by the dominant white society. This applies to gender too. Imagine non-male citizens navigating their own gender and sexual identity while navigating a dominant cisgender male society. And here's the gag, there's people that have to do both, which is Black women and Black queer folk. We have to deal with this. There's racism, and there's misogyny, and there's homophobia, and with us, we deal with that all at the same time. Crazy, right? It's our real life. And in order for us to be able to really enact political change and to call for social justice for all people, we must consider this intersectionality. Please. To put it another way, consider the people that were supporting Martin Luther King Jr. during the Civil Rights Movement, because those were women and queer folk too. I'll name 3 examples. Well, first, easily, is his wife, Coretta Scott. Now, I don't know about the relationship. I don't know how many times Martin Luther King Jr. cheated on her, and I'm not in bed with them, so it's not my place, okay? What I could say is that she was very influential in the Civil Rights Movement along with her husband. She not only served as a strategist for the Southern Christian Leadership Conference that her husband led, but she also wrote books and was a leader of the anti-apartheid movement at the time. Kudos to you, girl. I don't know about your man, but you still did the work. I'm proud of you. There's also Ella Baker, who was also part of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, but she noticed something wrong about the organization's structure. She looked around her and realized there's not a lot of female leaders. And when she tried to bring this up in conversation with her male counterparts, they were not really listening to her. So she grew independent from the male-dominated organization and found the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, which was very helpful in expanding the civil rights movement through youth-led grassroots organization and protesting. She also mentored people such as Diane Nash and Stokely Carmichael and was just a very prominent figure in civil rights. One more person to note is Bayard Rustin, who was one of Martin Luther King Jr.'s closest advisors, and he was gay. He was actually outed, which is not cool, but he was never ashamed of his sexual identity and kept it open. He was in a relationship with another man, and they stayed together, and while doing so, fought for civil rights and gay rights. He was very influential in providing different techniques on nonviolent resistance and led a lot of movements through protesting and grassroots organizations as well. Thank you, Bayard. Mind you, the current website for the Southern Christian Leadership Conference only mentions one woman, and that's Rosa Parks, in one sentence in their legacy tab. And I fear we have a lot more work to do in representing women and queer folk in Black history. We were leading grassroots organizations, talking amongst each other in different places where Black communities gathered, and we educated a lot of people, especially the youth, about civil rights. That's what led people to want to protest, to want to do something about what was going on. And to not recognize us is to not recognize our history. And we need to reconcile with that and do better by giving us our flowers. Where are the flowers? Are they even growing? Are they being tended to? because it's Valentine's Day too, and y'all better have y'all roses together, okay? Just give me some respect. Give people some respect. Black women and Black queer folk deserve a lot more respect than what we're getting right now. So if you know someone next to you who is a Black woman or Black queer, give them a hug. Give them a hug. Say, I see you, I listen to you, I respect you, and if you do, you love them too. Okay? That's your assignment. Now, I would love some more recommendations on Black, female, and queer authors. I already know Toni Morrison, Audre Lorde, James Baldwin. I would love to educate myself more, so if you guys know any more, please put it in the comments so that I enlarge my brain. Love yourselves, don't do too much, and I'll see you guys next time on Jaded.